Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer. All my psychic skills have been trained and honed and studied. I'm totally aligned with my mission, which is to deliver that extra information that's in the other dimensions that can make all the difference in the world. Because reality is first created in the other dimensions. And what you see in the physical dimension is a manifestation. But if you want real power, you have to be familiar with and work in the other dimensions. And the more conscious you are, the more conscious your creations, the more they will make sense to you, and the more your creations will be what you intended on creating rather than subconscious issues that you have creating situations in your life. So, yesterday we had an incredible event. I would say that other than that, what has happened in the last several months that was just as incredible, if not more, was the assassination attempt on Trump, which created a reaction because of his reaction to what happened to him and his lifting his fist in the air. He created a reaction in the country of faith and hope. In other words, we know they're trying to take him down. They weren't able to do it. We have hope. And then we have this event yesterday, which we worked during this chat to reduce the fire in both Elon and in Trump so that events such as what happened would not create a shift in their personality and then shift the quality of the conversation. We did reduce the fire. There was an event. And I wish that when they talk on X, they would remember that not everybody's 40 years old. Some people are a lot older, and we don't understand those abbreviations like DOD, denial of service, DOS. I didn't know what it was, but there was apparently a lot of denial of service. In other words, they were trying for the event not to be broadcast, not to be over the internet. And yet, apparently, a billion people saw the event. Not live, there were just millions that saw it live. And that was a second situation that gave hope to this country because apparently more and more people are jumping on the Trump train, which means that more and more of us are on the same path and wanting the same thing. Whether we're right or wrong, that's not the issue. And that brings me to let's not go into what we're going to discuss today, which is duality. Let's discuss what it is that I've seen lately having to do with the energies of the country. This is the map that I did for today. And at the top, it says the ETs are negotiating. Well, who are they negotiating with? This is a map of the United States. Do you think they're negotiating with Biden? I'm not going to look to see who they're negotiating with or what they're negotiating, but that's what came up on the map. We do have the triple protection of the pyramids, and it's complete. We have the heart opening up. We worked on that. Actually, last night, the Mantrista movement, we worked on the United States, Mexico, and Venezuela, which are the three countries that are important in the Americas. And apparently, the Americas is where power is going to be in the future. And the future is like right around the corner. Okay, so the only thing distressing, two things distressing on this map. One is that the fire from the planet is higher and higher. This is the fire. This is that molten lava in the center of the earth that used to be like in a round bag, and that bag basically has broken, and that molten fire is looking for an exit. And about a week and a half ago, we had to work on the West Coast, because it looked like that fire was going to trigger some really bad events there. We got it relaxed. But do you see these lines? Those are waves, and those are due to the earthquake that was in Japan about a week ago. That did not cause a tsunami, but it is still creating energetic waves in the United States and Mexico. Like when you hit a bell and you can hear the sound and then it keeps vibrating for a while. This is from that earthquake. And I think most people didn't even know there was a huge earthquake in Japan. but the land knows it. And this frequency waves created the earthquakes that we had yesterday in California. So this would be important to stabilize. And that's what we did last night with the Mantrista movement. And what was recommended was that we simply plant trees in the other dimensions with big roots, which stabilize the land. But it's not just the United States, it's also Mexico. But today, I'm still drawing these waves of energy. And this can create huge issues such as catastrophes. So that's the good news and the bad news. The good news, we have the 3 pyramids of protection. The heart is open. The bad news is that the catastrophic event that did happen in Japan has repercussions for the United States and Mexico. So I had wanted to show you one more thing. And lots of maps. This is what I had. Today's the 13th, and this is what I had sketched on the 10th. And I didn't understand these waves. And that is from the not the tsunami, the earthquake in Japan. And Venezuela is doing extremely well, but I must tell you a story about Venezuela. We do not live one incarnation. It's so silly. Do you really think you can accomplish a lot between 0 and 79? Not really. We live multiple lives, and they're all at the same time, because in the other dimensions, there's no time factor. There's no past and future. It's all the same. I know that's hard to wrap your head around. I know. So we're working on Venezuela yesterday, and everything's looking really good. We had found a ancestral curse from over 100 years ago of somebody who the owners of the mine that he worked at near whatever, or his family worked at, killed his whole family. And as you know from before, the way we started working with Venezuela in 2018 was when I sketched a map, and at the south of Venezuela, there was a huge portal to hell, to the infra world, to the underworld. That's how you say it in English, to the underworld. And it had to do with the mining there, which the owners of the mine would kill everybody that couldn't work in the mines because they didn't want to have to feed them. And that created a rage in these people that died, their spirits that were still there, and in their families. Anyway, we released the spirits. That portal is closed. It's still very weak. So we're working on Venezuela yesterday, and we had found another piece of black magic. We cleared it. It was also having to do with injustices in the mines. Okay, somebody did black magic but this was black magic. It wasn't just human misery like in the south of Venezuela. It was literally a black magic. They call it un trabajo, which means a job, literally a job. Somebody did a job on Venezuela and cursed it ancestrally. And that we were able to we found that and we cleared it. And the reason we found it is because we were looking for something that had been done 24 hours before, which had to do with cursing Venezuela and keeping everything very chaotic and out of control so that certain people could come in and take over. And then they could do whatever the heck they want with the natural resources. Venezuela is a very rich country. Anyway, we cleared the original injury, which was over 100 years ago, and then right on top of that, a piece of black magic that was done within 24 hours, which included, by the way, killing several people. I don't know why there's always young men. Next. So as we're finishing the chat, I could see somebody in Venezuela. I'm not going to say if it's a male or female. And I could see that the military was taking him away. Then all of a sudden, I saw him going to a river or a lake and immersing himself, like purifying himself. And I went, oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. This guy's getting ready to become a martyr. And I looked, and one of the people that's important in Venezuela, and I really don't know who the players are because I don't get into the politics, but one of the people has a past life in which they were a martyr, which means that would repeat unless something happens in this incarnation. So we have something that would happen, this person becoming a martyr in Venezuela, and then the whole country getting into an uproar and there being a battle, and maybe the good guys win. The guys that won the elections are the people that I classify as the good guys. They chose something that apparently there's no question but that they won. And all that was going to get messed up because somebody had a past life pattern of being a martyr, and they were literally preparing themselves to do that again, to repeat it, which is what I'm trying to tell you. We repeat patterns. What are the patterns you bring into this incarnation that you need to clear so that you don't fall into that black hole again, or you don't bring your black hole to the situation that you're in? Because in this case, the man was a martyr. Well, in the age of Pisces, you admire that. Jesus Christ was a martyr. They crucified him, put him on the cross. This guy was going to be crucified, and then he was going to become a martyr to the Venezuelans. Well, but in the process to become a martyr, contrary to when they did that to Jesus Christ, they used to put a lot of people on crosses at the time they did that to Jesus. That would not take anybody to try to overthrow the government of the Romans, because that was the punishment for people who stole. In this incarnation, the situation would have been different with this man. He would have, because of whatever, I'm not going to get into details, he would have ended up being a martyr, and that would have triggered violence. We're no longer in the age of Aquarius. We don't want martyrs. We want superheroes. So I wasn't quite sure what to do about that, because I'm not supposed to interfere in free will. So I just told all the people that are following this and working on this, they needed to really get compulsive about the mantra of, please God, help us with our intention, that there be a miraculously elegant transition in Venezuela. Miraculously elegant means nobody dies. We don't need a martyr. They won. It's pretty obvious. The bad guys leave, or the old guys leave, whether they're good or bad, whatever, they leave, and the new guys take over. That's what. So I said, you guys need to do this obsessively, or you may end up with a martyr. Oh, great. No, because that could initiate a civil war. So you have to take into consideration the ages. And so that will draw me to now, and what happened last night with the conversation between Elon Musk and Trump. Elon Musk is definitely of this age of Aquarius with the level of power. How can somebody do all of that stuff and be that bright? You can in the age of Aquarius. You got to love what you're doing. Elon Musk, you can't get too tired, because then you lose that thrust of your vector. So you got to take care of yourself. Trump does take care of himself in the sense that he loves golf, which means he's in nature, which is totally healing and balances out the excess fire. So back to what happened last night. I mentioned when we were talking about this last night that there was issues. I didn't say there would be issues with the conversation, because it was a conversation, not an interview. I said that the thing that I could see that Elon was struggling with and taking care of was the technology. That did happen last night. It didn't work. People were not able to see the conversation when they were supposed to, because other people were using technology to block. Eventually they got it taken care of. I don't think it even took that long, and they were there. So you got these two powerful forces, and they're both on the same side. So you don't have that duality at the highest level of power at this point in this country, which is the highest level of power in the planet. I'm not sure if that's going to last past the weekend, because things change so quickly. But at this point, you've got two people on the same page, and two people that are different consciousness. I believe that Trump is angelic consciousness. It explains so much in him. It explains so much in him. And Elon is definitely dolphin. I'm dolphin, so I think that's great. But they're different consciousness. and they're getting along like this. That is like a resolving of duality. This is a planet of duality. That's the way it was set up, but we're supposed to resolve duality at the end. And this is kind of the end. And whereas I'm sure the guys that are not in agreement with what's going on with Elon and Trump, as observers from the outside, I'm sure they're not seeing it the way that I'm seeing it. I'm giving the observations as I see them with a lot of background that most people don't have. And that's okay, because you don't have to believe me. You're just listening and you're not investing any money in me. I'm not selling you anything but information. But the fact that you've got two different consciousness feeling so good together and on the same page with so many important issues. And I'm sure that both of them have had to be flexible on things that were important to them, such as Trump with the thing with electric cars, which I think was not his favorite thing because he's so supportive of the automobile industry, the regular one, because there's two. There's the Elon Musk electric cars, and then there's the other one that has been around forever. But he's been flexible. And I'm sure Elon Musk has had to become flexible in many things in order to be able to work with Trump. But they appear to be doing it, which means that that duality line is getting erased, which is what's supposed to happen at the end. We're supposed to come together and be one. The whole thing about the lines between Democrats and Republicans getting erased, and you're not quite sure who anybody is anymore. Well, but that's liberal, so you're not supposed to be on that line. You're supposed to get back over that line to the other side. The line is getting blurry. And it's not because people are so sick and so confused. I think it's because we're at end times and those lines are supposed to disappear. And we're supposed to kind of see, hey, we're all on the same page. Which brings me to the whole issue of the people that are not on the same page with Trump and Elon. And maybe we need to be more kind, as in leaving doors open, and as in not maybe humiliating them as much as we do with those darn memes, cartoons. To me, they're cartoons. Maybe we need to be a little bit more kind, the door a little bit more open. I don't know. And I guess I'm being judgmental because I think I find it embarrassing for them. When you put stuff up that is so true and then they can't see it. And that's like, I'm not sure what's worse, to see that it's so true and oh my God, or the fact that they cannot see it, whatever. So the differences, age of Aquarius, age of Pisces, we don't need a martyr, but we didn't get it in Trump. We didn't get it in Trump. And the fact that those agents honestly did a lousy job of protecting him. He did it himself. That's age of Aquarius. That's superpowers. That is focused intention. You're not going to take me down. And all of you can do that in your life and get the same results. You just have to have the focus. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to be aligned with something that's for the higher good, because that's the reason why these two men are so powerful, because they are exhibiting and living and showing us what aligning with the age of Aquarius qualities are, the level of power that it can give you. The fact that all the stuff comes out with everyone is also levels the playing field. Revelations, lifting veils, means the lies are all going to be exposed. So the people that thought they could get away with stuff and people wouldn't realize it, and that way they could push their way to the top of the line, the front of the line, whatever, mistake, big mistake. Now, it gets very confusing out there because they put in such a volume of information that it really gets confusing. They have learned how to diminish the power of revelations by simply throwing so much misinformation that it gets confused as to what's real and what's not real, which is why you have got to develop and honor your instinctive knowing, which is basically intelligence of the heart, which is what Plato and Aristotle said was more important than intelligence of the head. Intelligence of the head is we got a lot of enemies, we need a lot of planes and a lot of bombs. That's intelligence of the head. This many enemies, this many planes and bombs. Intelligence of the heart is wait a second, we have enemies and we're building stuff that's ready for war. We're really reinforcing war. And this is not going to work because we're creating that division and the other side gets more angry. And by the way, that whole thing, a sign of the fact that hierarchy collapsed was when they started to have people strap bombs on their backs and take down an entire society. One bomb strapped to somebody's back who really was aligned with their mission, which was to destroy Christianity or white people or whatever. They were able to take down almost a country with all those bombs and all that technology. Fall of hierarchy. The fact that you have more bombs, intelligence of the head. Intelligence of the heart is maybe we shouldn't be building things that are for war if we don't want war. So it's a new era. And one of the things I liked about the Buddha was, and I've said this before, that it is said, we don't really know, but it is said that he did not want whatever he was teaching to be documented because he said maybe in the future it won't be contextually valid. And that's true. Every once in a while I have people say, no, because you said this. And I go, yes, I did say that. But that doesn't really refer to this situation today. It's different. We are in a change of paradigm. So we have to be careful about making final judgments or whatever because things are changing. Anyway, bottom line, what's going to take us down are natural catastrophes, not the enemy. If you can purify your space, whether it's your home or your country, then you can protect yourself from natural catastrophes because we've done it several times with the United States. And in Venezuela, the coast of Venezuela was very vulnerable to either a catastrophe or invasion. We cleared it. Now this is the way it looks now. So you can, even in the middle of all of this, the biggest enemy is not the enemy that you think it is, but it is Mother Nature that is trying to figure out where it needs to go to purify and balance the elements. And what you want to do is make sure that it's not your country or your home where Mother Earth recognizes that you've got too much fire going there, because at this point, what's in excess is the fire element. So we've been able to avoid some stuff, and I don't have any problem with anybody contesting that and saying, who do you think you are? I know who I am. But I have information you don't have. And we are getting validation, a lot of stuff. But again, if your instinctive knowing is honed, you will know whether I think that I'm telling the truth. And then you will know whether that is the truth. By the way, one of the ways of knowing if somebody's saying something's true is when your body reacts, like the hairs stand on end. Or you get these chills when somebody says something. That means that what they just said is absolutely true. So we got to keep working on the fire from the center of the earth that is looking for escape. It's looking to come up, and making sure it doesn't come up in your zip code, your neighborhood, or your country. So give me a second to think what it is that we should work on in terms of our mantra and the music that we're going to use now. So being contextually valid is really important. So I would suggest to everybody that they put away the classification or the party that they are normally a part of. And I understand Elon addressed that last night. Just because you used to be a Republican or a Democrat does not mean that that's working for you today. So if we could put down those groupings and just come together having to do with resonance and beliefs. Because everything has changed so much because we're in the collapse of a paradigm, beginning of a new cycle, and you may end up with a group of people that you didn't have anything in common with before, but now you do because you have more information, you have no information, or because that group changed. So it's not business as usual on planet Earth. The enemy that we think is the enemy, which is the other guy, it's not the enemy. The real enemies are from off planet that manipulate us. And I can't go into a lot of that stuff because I don't have permission. And I'll lose a lot of you. You'll go, what's she talking about? Where'd she get all the information? And then I can't tell you. So I can't give you the background and I can't give you so we were not going to go there. You just need to know that human beings are not each other's enemies. But when they appear to be each other's enemies, they are highlighting and mirroring the issues the other person has that they need to address because that's going to take them down. The example, Venezuela. We were clearing black magic in Venezuela from the heart chakra. I barely saw it. It was one of my followers that said, there's something dark in the center. I went back. I said, you're right. And then I said, somebody did some black magic. It was like 24 hours prior. Venezuela, too much black magic. Government people openly unburying dead heroes from 100 years ago, using their bones for black magic. It's not a good thing, but that's been done throughout the centuries. So it's a question of understanding that that happens so that you can make sure you protect yourself from it. But anyway, so we went in to take care of this piece of black magic that had done 24 hours prior. And what we found was something with black magic even deeper in exactly the same place that was done over 100 years ago. That was really heavy duty and had taken down or had changed the quality of Venezuela for over 100 years. So everything that happens that's bad is showing you something that needs to be taken care of. So the black magic from 24 hours ago was basically pointing an arrow, hey, 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 because it was in exactly the same place. Hey, 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 there's something here. And what we found there was worse than what we thought we were going to be taking care of. So we took care of both things. We, by the way, also found an ancestral black magic issue. It kind of scares me to say it. That was done when the Spaniards came over and basically the conquistadors to Mexico. And their priests that were Jesuits were jealous. I guess they had psychics, whatever. I don't guess. And they were jealous of the Mexican healers that are called curanderas. I'm terrified of them, by the way, because they're really good when they do black magic. Really, really good. I had to scramble and go back to school to be able to deal with some of the black magic from Mexico, from the curanderas. So the Jesuits were very jealous that the curanderas knew about medicine and how to heal diseases. They didn't like that. And so they did a huge piece of magic on Mexico that was still there and that we cleared yesterday. So everything is like layers, layers, and layers. We had already cleared a huge magic that had happened when there was war between the Mayans and somebody else. I didn't take the time to figure out who it was. And when we cleared that black magic, these eyes that were the size of like 1/5 the size of Mexico, but there were several of them, lifted up and off of Mexico. And what was interesting that we have a lot of Mexican mantrisas, and several of them said that as soon as that lifted up, they felt better. Because when you do black magic on a country, basically you're doing you are doing black magic on everyone in that country, even if they were born there and live in another country and haven't set foot back in their country. They're still connected. And when that gets released, the people get released. And I experienced that many years ago when I realized that Venezuela had huge black magic. And I was shocked because every time I would mention it to somebody in Venezuela, they would go, yeah, we know that. Well, why don't you fix it? Well, apparently it's not really that so simple to fix. So anyway, when that lifted up, I could tell from the Venezuelans that I knew that it was like something lifted off of them. So it's real important to find this stuff. And it's real important that modern people understand that that is a tool, it's a weapon. And the fact that you don't like it, and they didn't teach you that when you went to military school or when you got your MBA as a business tool, okay, that only means that they are limited and they're very stuck on the physical dimension and they really need to widen their lens. That's all that means. Because for centuries, civilizations have used black magic. So to try to manage a country and people and a project without being at least aware of that, especially entering the age of magic, age of Aquarius. And I'm not suggesting that people get into black magic. I don't like it. I don't suggest it. I don't want it. I hate it. But you need to know about it. You need to know and you need to learn to recognize the symptoms. Now, trying to find yourself somebody who has a high level of gifts in that arena that is not into black magic is almost impossible. There's something about getting into black magic, even if you get into because somebody did it to your family and somebody got sick and they almost died, or your business went under and you get into it to try to defend yourself. There's something about that world. It opens a door and then it beckons you. And you go in 1 inch, another inch, and then you're totally trapped. It's a problem. It's a huge issue. But we're not going to go into that part of it. We're going to figure out what mantra we're going to do. So why don't we use the thing with becoming a master so that you can be a master of magic in your life? At least you need to be able to recognize it. So, yes, I know the Pope is a Jesuit. Very powerful. They know a lot about black magic. A lot. So we're going to go ahead and do the mantra that has to do with becoming a master. Okay? And here we go in, even though I'm afraid to be a master. And I've said this before, having to do with natural resources in other countries. If you don't know about black magic, do not get into that business. Do not get into that business. I had a contract that almost killed me. It was the biggest contract I've ever had. It almost killed me. Darn, that's interesting. I'm not able to get that to go up. So that world, and you know what? It was so funny because when I would check, a lot of the enemies of the people that contracted me, which made them my enemies, decided not to go after those particular people and me because I worked for the US government, which was not really true. But it was good that they thought that. You know, it was less people that I had to clear. Uh, no, I won't be doing the chat in Spanish today. Sorry. So here we go. There's the mantra. You repeat it in silence. And mastery has to do with the third eye. So I am going to put the music, which is the creating peace music. And let's do that for 10 or 15 minutes. Do I have it? Yes, I do. Okay, we did 9 minutes. There was a lot of blue coming off of all of you. Blue is the color of the throat chakra, but also the third eye. So I injected myself with ivermectin. Really, really interesting. I can see what happens when somebody gets injected. I see where it goes. Then I'll tell you an example, but I won't tell you about the ivermectin till tomorrow. I have to ask the dolphins how much trouble I'm going to get into if I tell you about this particular formula. Years ago, I had a friend and her father had cancer. And I went, wow, I'm sorry. She said, yeah, he has an appointment tomorrow and he's going to get injected. What was he going to get injected with? Oh, there's an injection for his cancer. And I said, what is he? She said, oh, I don't know. So I said, okay, can I have permission to read what happens when it happens? She said, well, you can't go to the appointment. I said, I don't need to go to the appointment. I do it with remote viewing. She said, well, why not? So I said, what time is the appointment tomorrow? 2:00. So at 2:00, I tuned in. And then I asked the medical doctor later what it was. But basically, whatever they injected him with, the result of it was that I could see some like energetic sticks hitting the top of the kidneys, like beating up on the kidneys, but the top of the kidneys, not any other part. So I had a friend who was a medical doctor, and I said, why on earth would somebody get injected with something for their cancer where the effect is to beat up on their kidneys, but the top of the kidneys? She said, oh, that's where the adrenals are. I said, well, why would anybody beat up your adrenals? She said, because the adrenals produce the testosterone. And so what they were looking for was to reduce the testosterone. I went, wow, well, I don't think that's such a great idea to beat up. I think the adrenals are organs. And she said, well, that you asked me, I'm telling you what it is. It was fascinating. They were like sticks, but they were energetic sticks, not like a stick from a tree beating up on the adrenals. So I can read that. I did that, by the way, with secretin, which many years ago in the 90s, when I did a lot of fabulous research and then I got completely whacked and I had to shut all of that down, they were saying that it cured autism. And it was a big deal across the world. And so I went, I don't have autism. But I went, you know what? I'm going to try it and see what it does inside of me. So I went to a doctor and, he prescribed it and he got it because it was very restricted. I mean, you can't just get this easily, especially if it's really great. Then they make it harder for you to get. And it was like $300 for the injection. And I said, I don't care. I need to know what is going on. So the doctor injected the secretin, which is a hormone. And what I could see was that it worked in the solar plexus and that it made my solar plexus spin in the opposite direction it was spinning in. And then, of course, I realized my solar plexus was spinning in the wrong direction. It was supposed to go from right to left. And all the organs have like a little train that they're on right to left. But if you have a lot of trauma or you're very afraid, it will spin the opposite direction. But that night, I'm laying in bed and there were still newspapers I was laying in bed and I had a newspaper in front of me. And all of a sudden, I could read the print so well. I went, this is great. And I realized it was a secretin. So I asked a friend of mine who was an Ayurvedic physician, what could possibly have been in that that could have made me be able to read better? And what he told me was that it affects the liver, and the liver has a lot to do with your eyesight. But the main thing that the secretin does is it takes care of trauma. So when you have trauma, Your solar plexus, which is the source of power in human beings, all whether male, female, rich, poor, whatever, your source of personal power is in the solar plexus. When you have trauma, it spins in the opposite direction. And the secretin, one injection will make it spin in the correct direction again. So it's a huge difference. So anyway, so I decided to do that with the ivermectin. I don't have all the results, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to be allowed to give them, but you should sign up for it. You should sign up for it. I'm not sure there's any side effects. I'm afraid of the medical mafia, but if you want to have a good laugh, I couldn't figure out what dosage. And what I got was ivermectin in liquid. And I inject myself because I do a lot of homeopathy and I have the injections, whatever. So I was trying to figure out the dosage, but what I had was for vets. If I get picked up, you guys all have to pitch in to get me out of jail. And so I had to choose between the dosage for horses or the dosage for pigs. I swear I am not joking. So I was like, okay, it didn't bother me. I just had to make a decision. I had to make an executive decision. So I did. I'm not going to tell you what I chose. But anyway, so I'm going to figure out what it is that I can tell you without getting myself into trouble. Yes, the secretin, which is not what I've been talking about now. I was talking about ivermectin, the secretin, which is what I injected myself with, which is legal, but you have to get it through a doctor. And it used to be extremely expensive. And I have an idea it could probably cost $5. It's a hormone. It's called secretin, secretin. And it kind of makes sense because a lot of people contend that autism is a solar plexus digestive issue. Well, in a sense, it is, but that's not causal. But if you can take care of the direction of the movement of those organs, because they're like on a train, one following the other, it can make a huge difference. But I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. Don't cart me off to jail. I'm just trying to help out. I didn't do it to anybody. I did the secretin with a medical doctor. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Bye.